Okay, this is take 3.
Take 3.
Okay, hi YouTube. This is Aaron and my beautiful wife Tammy with a sold out marriage ministry. And we're coming to you from the heart of Salt Lake City Valley.
Yeah.
Salt Lake Valley, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, being outside, you may hear a little bit of noise from some traffic, maybe
From the trees.
a bike rider coming by here and there, but otherwise we'll try to keep it as undistracting as possible because we have a really, really special video today. It's going to feature my wife Tammy and her experiences with Cherish Women's Conference that she went to. It's just been a couple weeks now.
It has been a couple weeks. Yep, just a couple, maybe 3.
So without further ado, I give you Tammy.
Hey YouTube, it's good to see you, have you, hear you. I don't know how to say that. But I am excited to tell you about Cherish Women's Conference. So, yep, it's been about 3 weeks, and really it's going to be a few-part video, maybe 2 or 3 parts, because there is a lot of content to bring to you. The first part, though, in this episode, we want to talk about how it actually took kind of a miracle for me to even go down to the event. So Cherish Women's Conference, just to give you a little bit of a history of it, a brief history of it, is part of C3 San Diego's church. They also, you may recognize some of what we're talking about because Aaron goes to the Emerge men's conference every year, and we've actually talked about that on the video at least once. And this is the women's version of the of C3 San Diego's conferences. And so it was amazing, but let's talk about getting down there. So it wasn't really, it was on my radar, but it wasn't really, I didn't take it seriously. For a few years now, I've been invited down there by a friend of ours that goes down to that church. So I've always kind of wanted to go, but we always have so much on our plate of things that we want to do and places we want to go. And so we had talked about going maybe out of town for our anniversary, going to a conference. We talked about actually even going out of the country for a minute. We talked about a lot of things, and a lot of things happened this year, including the death of my father, and then, which we've done a YouTube video on as well. And then I've been out of town a lot over the summer, and so we just kind of got to a point where, gosh, October came, and the conference started on October 3rd. So on October 1st, actually, on October 1st, I had just finished listening to it was a podcast, but it was basically a sermon that our friend had sent us, and I listened to that, and right afterwards I was talking to Aaron, and he had said, hey, I think you might have come home from, lots of birds. I think you might have just come home from a men's prayer meeting or something. But anyways, he said, Tam, I really think that next year you should really go. And that, I'd already had that stirring in my heart to go after I had listened to the sermon that I had. God was just already stirring in me that I wanted to go and needed to go. Aaron said something, and just before that, I had seen another advertisement for it. And so I sat there and just thought, one of the things that I learned this year was how to listen to God. If you go back to some of our YouTube videos early on, we did some videos called Road Trip with God. And that whole point of the story with that was that God was teaching me how to listen to him. So I heard him say go. I knew his voice. I knew what that sounded like. And so I called Aaron and just said, when you get home today, can we just talk about this, because I really feel like I'm supposed to go. So I guess pausing there, do you have anything to add to that? That portion of it? Not so much. What was your, I do want to say, what was your initial reaction or thoughts anyway, when I asked you about going? You were pretty on board.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So, first of all, I was really surprised because, all the different things that we talked about doing, and, a lot of them just they all either fell through or just became unfeasible.
That's true. Yeah.
Or, some kind of financial reason, or just
a choice.
Or practical reason.
Yeah.
But anyways, And so I was on board with you going, but inside I was really apprehensive because it was so close to the time that it was going to start. Tammy didn't decide to actually figure it out until like 2 days before the conference.
Yeah, it was on October 3rd was the day of the conference, and we basically made the decision that I would go October 1st, and it wasn't home. It wasn't in Salt Lake City, so I had to figure out how to get down to San Diego, which I guess is a good segue into that part of it.
Get there, somewhere to stay,
Yeah.
and then the conference itself, food, like the whole planning was done in 2 days.
Yeah, and we ran up against some trials there too, and now because of the impact and the things that happened at this conference, I know Aaron knows that everything that we did come up against was totally an enemy tactic, because I needed to be there. And I've come home to just, I mean, even Aaron would agree now, like, it was worth everything that we put into me going. It was worth it. But yeah, one piece, even just just a car. We have cars, but I have a truck that sucks gas, so I knew I couldn't take that down. And normally I would just ask Aaron if I could take his car. But his car actually needed some work to be done, and it wouldn't have been good for me to take it down to San Diego. And that was almost a moment for me where I remember saying to you, well, I guess that just means I'm not supposed to go. And it was a little bit more like, no, I actually think that means you're supposed to go, because things are coming against us to say that we shouldn't. And so, Aaron actually, Aaron said maybe look into renting a car, and that surprised me, because that's not normally something that you would just suggest all of a sudden. And so
No, because it's not cheap.
it's not cheap. No, it's not cheap. And there's a lot of moving parts involved, which I discovered after, deciding to do it. But you know what? Went and rented a car. And even then we ran up against some obstacles, because the way that I rent a car when I go out on business is super easy, because my company runs all of it. So I push a button and they pay for everything that happens to come through. So when I went to go rent one by myself, what I didn't realize is that if I opt for no insurance at all and just to go under our insurance, it means, and all of you can laugh, it's okay, I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't realize that meant that if we get so much as a rock chip or a scratch, then we have to pay for the whole thing. And so I didn't realize that part of it by using our own insurance. So I came home, and there's nothing you can do about it after you leave. You can't go back and say, oh, just kidding, I want to put insurance on it. So both Aaron and I had talked to Aaron. Aaron was like, oh, okay. He's like, it's done. You already did this. He gave me grace, which was really nice of him. But you know what? I did just give that one to God. I was like, God, I just need to, and actually, now that I think about it, I didn't think about it until now, but now that we're talking about it, what I've realized too, is even that was a step of faith and a step of God working on anxiety, at least in me, probably in you too. But it was like, okay, I have literally no choice but to trust you, God. Like, this is something you want me to do. I really have to trust you're going to keep me safe, and that nothing's going to happen to the car. Long story short, nothing happened to the car. And I got down there, and
Well, not only that, but I mean, you had to find a place to stay, because we didn't have anybody nearby that she could have stayed with.
yeah, that's true.
And that's always hard to find in a big city last minute.
Especially financially, because we really are we've got all of these other things that we want to do, and so I was trying to make it as cheap as possible, but still make it happen. And so yes, I did find an Airbnb to stay at, which was sketchy at best, but I survived it. And you know what? I just made plans. We got it all packed, got it all ready to go, and I left. And actually, I'm glad that as we were talking about this, Aaron said, we're going to have to make this into a couple of parts, because there's a lot to it. So let me just tell you that the trip down there alone, just getting there, that alone was God preparing me, because I spent a lot of hours. It's about a 12-hour-ish drive, but anyway, the whole day, the whole drive, God was so good, and he just kept speaking to me through songs, through worship, and it was a time where I was really preparing myself to enter into what God was going to have for me. And so I got to really do a lot of like, okay, God, I'm actually ready. I'm ready for you to do what I feel like you've actually brought me into, because all year, if you've listened to any of our YouTube videos, you'll know that for the last year I've been working really hard on some areas in my life, and God's brought me through a lot of that. And so I do feel like this was a culmination, and I don't feel like it, I know it now, but at the time I felt like it was going to be a culmination of what God was really trying to do in me. So I got to hear a lot from God just down on the road trip.
Well, it made a lot of sense because, like you were just kind of alluding to, there's been several kind of rest stops along the way.
Yeah.
Where God has spoken to all that really in a large way got worked out at the conference for Tammy, like earlier this year, and there's been other things that have been tested, and the fact that this conference did what it did for Tammy and her experience there, just I guess really solidified the fact that you were really meant to be there.
Yeah, I was really meant to be there. So with that, you know what, I do think that is the bulk of what we wanted to talk about today, to just start giving you an idea and an understanding of what this whole Cherish Women's event was about. So we're going to end this video, but before we
end it though,
yeah,
do you want to give them just a little piece of the result of the first day?
Yes, and then I want to tell you where you can connect with us also. So the first day, just know this, that at the end of the first day of the conference, God did a huge physical healing miracle in me. And so it really was an incredible experience, just knowing at the end of that day, oh, if I came for nothing else, it was worth it for that. So that being said, I want to actually tell you in the next video what that was about, how that healing came about, what the preaching was about. I actually get really excited when I start talking about this because it was amazing. But then also just how to connect with us. So first of all, we did write a book earlier this year. It got published, so go check that out. It's on Amazon. It is The Beginning of a Journey to a Sold Out Marriage. And then also our YouTube channel, which you're already on.
Which is here.
But you can check out more of those videos.
Yeah, check out more videos. If this is the first video, welcome.
Yeah.
First video that you've checked out, welcome. Check out the rest. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And we are getting better and better with each podcast.
No,
not
video.
We are, but the
videos.
Podcast.
It's okay.
With each video.
But that's okay because I want to talk about the podcast.
Speaking of podcasts.
Yeah, this is a good segue. Good job. So podcast. Erin and I don't do a podcast together, but I do want to reach out to the wives of our ministry and just tell you that I do have a podcast called The Unoffended Wife. And you can check that out on Spotify. You can also look it up on Bleaker or on Anchor. I think Spotify tends to be the most versed app that you can find it on. But look it up. It's called The Unoffended Wife. And I will put that link also in our notes for the show here. But I do think that if you want to just grow more as a wife, go check that out. I get really raw, really real, just bringing to you everything that God's worked me through in the last year, and I think it'll be helpful to a lot of you. And with that, I think emails.
Yeah, email us. How else?
So
Facebook.
email.
Check out the
Facebook
page.
Yep, Facebook,
and
Instagram. Yes, Instagram.
Oh, and
yes.
Instagram, because you'll start seeing some new images from us. We just started creating more new images from our ministry, which is the foundation of our ministry.
Yes, is the images. So go check out Instagram, A Sold Out Marriage on Instagram. And then also to email us, you can email us at asoldoutmarriage@gmail.com. We do want your comments, your feedback. We want your questions, and honestly, prayer requests even. If you just want some prayer and wanting a couple to support you that way, we're happy to do that too. But with that, we'll see you next time.
So if you like the video, click like, subscribe if you like to find out when we do new videos. Otherwise, or even just bookmark our was it a page?
Our page,
Our page. But like Tammy said, with that, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.